Has you ever found yourself, nodding along, saying yes to something when really deep down you're just screaming no?
Oh, definitely. I think we've all been there.
Maybe it's that extra project at work or volunteering for something you just don't have the bandwidth for.
Or like helping that same friend move again for the 5th time.
Yeah.
When you're totally wiped out.
Exactly. If any of that rings a bell, well, you're definitely not alone. It seems like so many of us at some point fall into that people-pleaser trap.
Yeah, the classic archetype. That friend or colleague who's always stepping up, always ready to help out.
Right, and they often sideline their own stuff to help others, but then they end up feeling, well, kind of stuck, stressed out, and just exhausted.
Totally drained. It's a tough cycle.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're taking a deep dive into Damon Zahariades' book, The Art of Saying No. How to stand your ground, reclaim your time and energy, and refuse to be taken for granted without feeling guilty.
And our mission here is pretty clear. We want to pull out the really key, actionable insights from Zahariades' work.
So helping you understand why saying no can feel so incredibly hard.
Exactly. And then, crucially, give you some tools, some ideas on how to actually do it. How to say no with confidence, but also, with grace.
That grace part is important, isn't it?
It really is. Because what's fascinating, and what Zahariades really emphasizes, is how mastering the skill isn't just about avoiding burnout. It can seriously boost your productivity. Yeah. It can actually strengthen your relationships, build respect, and lead to this feeling he calls a sense of competent calm. Which sounds pretty good, right?
Competent calm, I like that.
Yeah. And get this learning to say no effectively can actually lead others to have, and this is his phrase, more respect for you.
Really? That seems counterintuitive sometimes.
It does, but think about it. They start placing greater value on your time and might even see you more as a leader rather than a follower because you're setting boundaries and managing your resources effectively.
Okay. All right. So let's unpack this whole people-pleasing habit then. Where does it start and what's the real cost? Zahariades is quite open about his own experiences, isn't he?
Oh, completely. He kicks things off by admitting he was, in his words, the quintessential people-pleaser back in high school and college.
The classic case.
Totally. He said he'd happily sacrifice my own pursuits to help you pursue your own. And on the surface, like you said before, that sounds, well, nice, like being a really good person.
Yeah, who wouldn't want a friend like that?
Right. But that's exactly where the internal struggle started for him. He talks about this tension, saying, every time I said yes to someone, it felt like I was doing the right thing. I was making the other person happy, so how could such a decision be regrettable?
The justification.
Exactly. But then he adds, but a little voice would always opine that saying yes to others was in effect saying no to myself.
Oof. That hits home.
Doesn't it? And he gives this super relatable example. Just owning a pickup truck in college. Suddenly he's the go-to guy for helping friends move. All the time.
Been there. Maybe not with a pickup, but...
Right. He'd just impulsively say yes, but it was always, as he puts it, in opposition to the small voice in my head berating me for putting my own interests and priorities on hold.
So it wasn't just a one-off feeling?
No, it was constant. And over time, this wasn't just annoying, it festered. It slowly made him resentful.
Resentful of the friends asking?
Well, yeah, partly, but also, this is key, profoundly resentful of himself for constantly caving.
And that's the real long-term danger, I guess, that internal corrosion. He talks about it leading to bitterness and despair.
He does. It's like each time he just went along with it, that feeling of discontent just grew a little bit more. It was setting the stage for bitterness and despair.
Wow.
He realized the pattern was genuinely making me increasingly unhappy. And the hardest part, admitting he had no one to blame but myself.
That's a tough realization. But sounds like it was a turning point. Led him to a pretty crucial lesson.
A huge one. The core insight he landed on was this. No one will protect my time or prioritize my needs as vigilantly as me.
Right. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
Precisely. And he's quick to clarify, this isn't about being selfish in that negative, crabby way. It's more like practical self-preservation, the kind that actually allows you to help others better in the long run.
Okay. How did that work?
He uses that brilliant oxygen mask analogy from airplanes. Put on your oxygen mask before helping others put on their mask.
Right. Standard safety briefing.
But the logic is profound, isn't it? If you try to help everyone else first, you might run out of air yourself. Then you can't help anyone.
Makes sense.
It's the same in life. If you just keep saying yes, 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 you run yourself ragged. You're skipping meals, losing sleep, giving up things you enjoy. Eventually you become, as he puts it, exhausted, irritable, and unhappy.
And in that state, you're not much good to anyone, least of all yourself.
Exactly. You're unable and probably unwilling to genuinely help anymore. So prioritizing your own needs first, that actually builds your capacity. It gives you the reserves, the freedom to help others when you truly have the time, the energy, and crucially, the genuine desire to do so.
So it's like building a strong foundation first. You can't build much on shaky ground.
Spot on. It totally reframes self-care. It's not indulgence, it's essential maintenance.
Okay, that really shifts the perspective. Which brings us to something else you mentioned, assertiveness.
Yeah.
Because saying no often requires it, right? And here's where it gets really interesting for anyone feeling stuck. Many people think assertiveness is just like a personality trait. Either you've got it or you don't.
Yeah, that's a common misconception.
But Zahariades makes it crystal clear. That's wrong. Assertiveness is a learned skill. Anyone can develop it.
Right, and he defines it pretty clearly, too. It's about having the self-confidence to express your needs and wants and pursue your own ends, even in the face of opposition.
So, stating your case without needing everyone else to agree or pat you on the back.
Exactly. It's declaring your point of view and not feeling as if you need others' approval or validation.
Okay, but here's a critical point he makes, right? The difference between being assertive and being, well, aggressive.
Absolutely crucial distinction. People mix them up all the time, but they are fundamentally different, worlds apart, really.
So what's the difference in practice?
Okay, so healthy assertiveness. That's about clear, confident, respectful communication. Aggressiveness, that's often belligerent, rude, dismissive, sometimes even threatening.
Got it. Can you give some examples? Zahariades has some good ones, I think.
He does. They really clarify it. Okay,
Right.
so expressing disagreement. Assertive is listening fully, letting them finish, then thoughtfully sharing your different view. Aggressive, interrupting, talking over them, basically shutting them down.
Right, seeing that happen.
Or, say, sharing ideas in a group. Assertive is participating, letting others speak, expressing your thoughts respectfully. Aggressive is trying to dominate, shouting others down, maybe tearing down their ideas without offering anything constructive.
Okay. What about, like, everyday situations?
Good question. Movie theater, someone's talking loudly. Assertive, leaning over, calmly asking them to lower their voice. Aggressive, demanding they shut up, maybe throwing in a threat.
Big difference.
Huge. Or, coffee shop, your drink is wrong. Assertive, calmly explaining the issue to the barista, asking politely for a remake, maintaining eye contact. Aggressive. Berating the barista, maybe glaring, making it personal and unpleasant.
Yikes.
And the big one for our topic, saying no when asked for help. Assertive. Being direct, simply declining. Maybe suggesting someone else who could help. Sorry, I can't right now, but maybe Sarah has time.
Okay.
Aggressive, barking no. Then maybe dismissing or even belittling the person for asking in the first place. Why would you even ask me that? That kind of thing.
That distinction is so incredibly important. Because aggressiveness often feels like that knee-jerk thing, right? An impulse you regret later.
Exactly. It's often reactive. But assertiveness, as Zahariades frames it, is planned, thoughtful, and considerate.
Planned, thoughtful, considerate. I like that.
Yeah. An assertive person states their position clearly, but they also try to take the other person's feelings into account as much as reasonably possible.
Which is key to that idea of saying no with grace. That's the goal.
That's absolutely the goal. And he speaks from experience again. He admits that in the past, he'd get overwhelmed, lose his cool, maybe blow up at someone who just asked at the wrong time, and he'd always regret it.
Understandable.
Which is why he cautions against his own initial overcorrection, that knee-jerk reaction phase where he started turning down almost everything. He calls that approach too severe in its making. It wasn't balanced.
Okay, so it's about finding that assertive middle ground. Not passive, not aggressive.
Precisely.
So this brings up a really important question, doesn't it? Why is it so hard? Why do we struggle so much to just say no?
Yes. Zahariades digs into this. He identifies several reasons, which he calls unhealthy reasons, that often drive this behavior. Sometimes we're aware of them, sometimes not so much.
Subconscious stuff.
Exactly. And understanding these underlying motivations is really the first essential step towards breaking free.
So what are some of these reasons?
Well, a big category is basically our aversion to making other people feel bad. Like, we want to avoid offending people.
Yeah, nobody wants to be offensive.
Right. But Zahariades makes a sharp point here. Often, the offense taken stems more from the requester's own insecurities. They might internalize a simple no as a personal rejection. But the liberating idea is, As long as you deliver your no courteously and candidly, you are not responsible for any offense taken. Their emotional reaction is theirs. That's a boundary.
That's a big mental shift. Taking responsibility only for your delivery, not their reception.
Exactly. And similarly, we want to avoid disappointing people. We hate letting people down.
Sure.
But disappointment, he argues, comes from unmet expectations. Now, unless you actually promise something beforehand.
Right, unless you made a commitment.
Yeah. If you didn't, then you're not really responsible for their disappointment if they came to you with maybe unrealistic and perhaps even unfair expectations. You can't control their expectations or their emotional responses. You can only control your actions.
That makes so much sense. It links back to those fears about how others might react. But what about that little voice inside us? The one that whispers, "You're being selfish."
Ah, yes, the guilt trip we give ourselves. That's another huge hurdle Zahariades tackles head on. The fear of seeming selfish.
It feels ingrained sometimes.
It often is. We're frequently taught, maybe implicitly, that self-care is selfish, but he argues that's a dangerous misconception. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary.
The oxygen mask again.
Exactly. Think about the flip side. Every single time you say yes to someone else's request, especially when you're overloaded, you are, in effect, saying no to something else.
Right, saying no to your own time, maybe family time.
Or your studies, your hobbies, even just your basic need for rest or quiet time. Prioritizing yourself isn't inherently selfish, it's responsible resource management. You have finite time and energy.
Responsible resource management. I like that framing.
And this connects directly to another reason people struggle. Low self-esteem.
How so?
Well, if you struggle with low self-esteem, you might mistakenly believe that our time is worth less than others' time, or that our goals and needs are somehow inferior.
Ouch. That's a tough belief to carry.
It really is. But here's the empowering truth he offers. Learning to say no can actually improve your sense of self-worth.
How does that work?
Because each time you assert your boundaries respectfully, you're sending a message, primarily to yourself, that your time, your energy, your aspirations are important, just as important as anyone else's. It's an act of self-validation.
So saying no isn't just about managing external demands. It's also about reinforcing our own internal sense of value.
Absolutely. It works both ways.
Okay. Are there other sort of deep-seated desires that play into this, that hold us back?
Definitely. Another really powerful one is our fundamental desire to be liked. And related to that, the desire to appear valuable or indispensable.
The need for approval.
Exactly. Zahariades calls the desire to be liked universal. It's practically hardwired into us as social creatures. We crave approval, belonging, and that deep longing can sometimes make us feel incapable of saying no.
Because saying no feels like risking rejection or disapproval.
Precisely. And similarly, that feeling of being valuable, being seen as the expert, the go-to person, that can be, as he puts it, intoxicating.
Yeah, feels good to be needed.
It does. We love being the person who can solve the problem or lend the crucial hand. But Zahariades warns this often just reinforces a bad habit. Saying yes automatically because it feels good in the moment can lead straight back to that bitterness and resentment, especially when it consistently comes at the expense of our own well-being.
So the short-term buzz isn't worth the long-term burnout.
That's the trade-off. Then there's another modern classic, FOMO, fear of missing out.
Ah, FOMO. Yes.
That anxiety can drive us to say yes to things that are, frankly, inconsequential to us. We load up our plates just because we worry we might miss something interesting or important. We stretch ourselves way too thin.
So we say yes to too many mediocre things and have no space left for the great things.
You nailed it. The issue isn't saying yes to opportunities per se. It's the failure to discriminate between the wrong opportunities and the right ones. Learning to say no to the meh opportunities is what frees you up to enthusiastically say yes to the ones that are genuinely rewarding and aligned with what you actually want.
That's a powerful reframe. Saying no isn't just closing a door, it's opening space for a better door.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
What about just the sheer discomfort of, the potential awkwardness or confrontation in the moment?
That leads right into another major barrier, a simple aversion to conflict.
Conflict anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people really struggle with conflict anxiety. They'll say yes just to quash a potential dust-up, basically to keep the peace, even if it's a superficial peace.
Avoid the awkwardness at all costs.
Right. But Zahariades argues that conflict isn't necessarily bad. It doesn't have to be a fight. Often, it's merely the expression of contradictory views or needs.
Needs bumping up against each other.
Exactly, and constantly capitulating just to avoid that little bit of friction. It reinforces the damaging idea that your feelings are less important than the other person's desire or request, but they're not.
And that becomes a habit too.
A deeply ingrained one. But the good news, again, is that it can be unlearned. He suggests starting small. Practicing in low-risk situations.
Like what?
Like just telling a persistent salesperson a firm but polite no thank you. Or declining a small, unimportant request from someone you don't know well. Each small success builds that confidence muscle for bigger challenges.
Okay, makes sense. Start small, build momentum.
And finally, underlying all of this, for many people, saying yes has simply become an ingrained habit. It's instinctive, almost done on autopilot.
Just the default setting.
Pretty much. It's a learned behavior reinforced over years by those short-term rewards we talked about. Getting approval, feeling worthy, ensuring social inclusion. But like any habit, good or bad.
It can be unlearned.
Exactly. It can be unlearned. The key is awareness. Pausing, reflecting for just a second before you respond. That interrupts the autopilot. It gives you a chance to choose differently.
Okay, so the book doesn't just diagnose the problem. It offers the cure, too. It gives actual strategies, right?
Right.
For different situations.
Oh, absolutely. It goes into specific strategies and details how to implement them, depending on who you're dealing with, family, friends, coworkers, your boss, clients, even strangers. And perhaps most profoundly, how to say no to yourself sometimes.
Saying no to yourself, how does that work?
Like saying no to taking on too much, even if it's stuff you want to do. Recognizing your limits. Saying no to perfectionism, maybe. Saying no to distractions.
Okay. Internal boundaries. And a big part of this is setting those emotional boundaries, right? That idea of not feeling responsible for others' feelings.
That's a core concept woven throughout, understanding where your responsibility ends and theirs begins.
So how does Zahariades suggest we actually start putting these no's into practice?
Yeah.
We talked about starting small, but are there specific techniques?
Yes, definitely. He really emphasizes that learning to say no with confidence is like adopting any new habit. It's best to start small. Build that competence, build that confidence. Practice in those low-risk situations first. Then you can gradually tackle the higher stakes ones.
Repetition makes it stick.
Exactly. Repetition builds the neural pathways, makes the new response more automatic over time, so practically speaking.
Yeah, what can you actually do?
Okay, one really practical strategy he pushes is the pause and plan method.
Pause and plan.
Okay. So instead of that instant knee-jerk yes, or maybe even an overly harsh no, if you're feeling defensive, you buy yourself some time.
Ow.
When a request comes in, you resist responding immediately. You say something neutral like, let me check my calendar and get back to you. Or, I need to think about that for a moment. Can I let you know later today? Or even just, let me see what's possible.
Buys you breathing room.
Crucial breathing room. That simple pause gives you time to actually assess. Check your real capacity, consider your own priorities, and then formulate a response that's thoughtful and assertive, not just impulsive. It breaks the autopilot habit right there.
That makes so much sense. Just that little gap can change the whole interaction.
Yeah.
Okay, so you pause. You've decided no was the right answer. How do you deliver it without feeling guilty or caving?
Right. Now you need the communication technique. One really effective one is sometimes called the broken record technique.
Broken record. Sounds kind of annoying.
It can be if done aggressively. But the idea here isn't rudeness. It's calm, consistent repetition of your core message, your refusal, without getting tangled up in long justifications or arguments that the other person can pick apart.
So keep it simple and repeat.
Pretty much. Let's say someone keeps pushing after you've clearly said no. Instead of getting flustered or defensive, you just calmly reiterate your point. Something like, I understand you'd really like my help with this, but as I mentioned, I'm unable to commit to that right now.
Okay.
Or, like I said, my schedule just doesn't permit it this week. You stick to your clear, simple statement. The courtesy is in your initial delivery and tone. The assertiveness is in the firm, polite repetition if needed. You don't need to over-explain.
Less is more in terms of explanations sometimes. Got it. Any other techniques?
Yes. Another really useful one he champions is the offer an alternative approach.
So it's not just a hard no.
Exactly. This lets you say no to the specific thing they asked for, but you still show goodwill. It can help preserve the relationship because you're demonstrating helpfulness, just, within your boundaries.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. So instead of just, no, I can't help you move, you might say, I'm really sorry I can't help you move this weekend. My schedule is packed, but I'd be happy to lend you my heavy-duty dolly if that helps.
Right. Or at work.
Maybe. I appreciate you thinking of me for that project, but I honestly can't take on anything else right now to give it the attention it deserves. However, I could potentially help you brainstorm who else on the team might have the bandwidth or the right skills.
So you're declining the main request, but offering something else, something smaller or different that you can do.
Exactly. It shows you're not just being unhelpful or difficult. You're being realistic about your capacity, but still trying to be constructive.
These are really concrete, actionable steps. It sounds like it boils down to being thoughtful, honest, and respectful, but also firm when you need to be.
That's a great summary. Yeah.
So the message isn't never help anyone ever again. That's not the point.
Not at all. It's about learning how to say no without feeling guilty when you know it's the best decision given your circumstances. It's about discernment.
Making conscious choices about your time and energy.
Exactly. And the core message that just echoes through the whole book is that your time and interests are valuable, period.
And that saying no isn't a moral failing?
Absolutely not. Zahariades really hammers this home. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. For many of us, saying yes all the time is simply a learned response. And like any learned response, it can be unlearned.
So what's the big picture takeaway then? What does mastering this art really mean for someone?
Well, it's potentially transformative, isn't it? It means reclaiming those incredibly precious resources, your time, your energy, your focus. It means becoming more assertive, not just in refusing requests, but probably in all areas of your life.
And gaining that respect you mentioned earlier.
Yes, gaining genuine respect from others because they see you value yourself and your commitments. And ultimately, it's about aligning your actual actions, your day-to-day life, with your real values and priorities, what truly matters to you.
It sounds like a muscle, as you said. It gets stronger the more you use it.
That's the perfect analogy. It takes practice, consistent application, but it absolutely gets easier and more natural over time.
Okay, so maybe a final thought for everyone listening. If we accept that every yes we give means saying no to something else, maybe implicitly.
Right, there's always an opportunity cost.
Then consider this. By learning to say a clear, intentional no more often, what incredible yeses are you actually freeing yourself up to embrace? What truly rewarding experiences or important personal goals have been sitting on the back burner, just waiting for you to finally create the space for them by setting these clear, confident boundaries?
That's a powerful question to end on. What amazing things could you say yes to if you got better at saying no?